Hello everyone, I'm Scruffy at Scruffy Tales, and this is the Nerd Zone. And in this video, we will be taking a look at various species and factions of Star Trek, and how they probably, or how I in my head canon think they would probably most likely maybe logically deal with enemies should the need arise to deal with them. So yeah, let's move on. Kicking it off with Starfleet. Peaceniks and do-gooders in general. Uh, what would they use? Well, they would obviously need to disable the shields of the enemy vessel, and the best way to do that is to rely on photon torpedoes. But it's Starfleet, so they don't want to kill anyone or destroy them at random. So photon torpedoes will be used to lower the shields down to, I don't know, 10-15%. And after that, they would have to rely on phasers to take out the shields completely without risking damaging and killing anyone on the enemy ship. And once the shield is down, well, you can't kill people willy-nilly, can you? You're Starfleet, so you have to aim with pinpoint accuracy at the enemy ship's thrusters, impulse engines, and well as the warp nacelles. And other obvious targets would be the various weapon points, obviously. And then we have the Romulans. Uh, well, to my mind, Romulans, they don't really mess around. If they want to destroy an enemy, they will do that in the most efficient way they can, without putting themselves at unnecessary risk. And the best way to do that is, well, to rely on disruptors and torpedoes to remove the shields of the enemy vessel. And then, if you really want to destroy it, transport big, powerful bombs onto that vessel and blow it up from within, because you get the most effect from an explosive if you put it in a cramped position, in a cramped location. So hitting a starship from the outside won't cause as much damage as if something explodes on the inside within it. So obviously, once the shields are down, and if they manage to slow down the enemy vessel, then they will transport bombs onto that ship and blow it up from within. And, you know, after that, they don't have to worry about anything. And Romulans are obviously also famous for relying on cloaking devices. So they would obviously use cloaked vessels to the fullest in order to achieve victory and completely destroy enemy vessels. So some ships would be flying around visible in order to draw fire and attention. Other ships would then decloak and engage the enemy, and then cloak again, and doing basically hit and run attacks until the enemy vessel's shields are down, and then you can then transport the powerful bombs on board the enemy vessel and end the fight right away, right there and then. And now, Klingons. What would Klingons do in a space battle? Well, if you ask me, their goal is to disable the enemy vessel. And sorry for that. And then teleport Tetrion bombs on board that would make all energy weapons useless. And we've seen this in Deep Space Nine. I believe it was Tetrion bombs. That Dax, she relied on Tetrion radiation to disable phasers and disruptors at a base where a bad guy was hiding, and then she and 3 old school badass Klingons could get down there and rely on bathlets and superior fighting skills to defeat a numerically superior foe. So obviously, this is canon. This technology exists. So why wouldn't Klingons be throwing stuff like this around, Tetrion bombs of grenades and what have you, disable all energy weapons, and then go at it old school style with bat'leths? It seems logical to me, it makes sense to me that Klingons would prefer that type of combat, and so they would disable cowardly facers and then be able to face the enemy mano a mano in proper Klingon fashion. And this is also why they use cloaks, cloaked ships. Why would an honorable people, warrior people like this, rely on cloaking devices? Well, to me, it makes sense that they use them in order to disable the enemy ship, so they don't have to kill the enemy with disruptors and torpedoes. They rely on the cloak to disable the enemy ship so that they can then board the enemy ship. So that's why Klingons use cloaking devices. So they won't get killed by a stupid torpedo, but instead they can sneak in, sneak around, outsmart the enemy, take out the shields, take out the engines, and then teleport onto the enemy ship and begin the proper hardcore fighting Klingon style. And we have our favorite cowards of the galaxy, the Ferengi. Ferengi, well, why should they engage in combat? Well, I think Ferengi make perfect marauders, privateers, and, pirates in general, to be honest. It seems to suit their mindset. Uh, so they would strive to disable an enemy ship. I don't think they wouldn't because they're so cowardly. They wouldn't, haha, we're gonna attack this big Federation or Starfleet vessel. They would probably go after unprepared, undefended merchant vessels and stuff like that. Disable those and then transport over stun bombs and knockout gas because they don't really want to fight. I don't think Ferengi really want. They don't mind people killing, but I don't think they would go out of the way to actually kill people. They would rather knock them out with gas, like we've seen in was it Enterprise? I think it was. And board the enemy vessel in order to plunder it from and grab all the loot and what have you that they might need. And should the need arise for combat, to the need for fighting, obviously Ferengi would bring along mercenaries such as Nausicaans and what have you. Then we have the Romulan wannabes, the Cardassians. Not Kardashians, thank God. Uh, well, I think they don't really have the same sophisticated transports as Romulans, so they can't rely on bombs being transported all over onto moving targets in space. So they will have to rely on photon torpedoes in order to destroy their enemies. Once the shields are gone, um start launching torpedoes just like you did before the shields were a problem, and just keep at it. Probably focus on taking out enemy impulse engines to deny them the chance to maneuver effectively, and which would set the enemy up set them up to be killed by the Cardassians. Or if the ship is too powerful, it has too many guns, and well, you manage to slow it down, but you can't really get in to take that final shot. It obviously leaves the enemy the choice to fall back and escape with the warp drive. I think that suits the Cardassian mindset. That they try and disable the enemy in order to give them a chance to kill it, but it also leaves the enemy the chance to escape, and if they're too powerful for the Cardassians to actually handle them. It feels that suits the predatory nature of the Cardassians somehow. I don't know. Uh, they're stalking a prey, and if the prey is weak enough, they will kill it. But if the prey is strong enough, you might just, okay, no, we don't want to die needlessly because we're not cool Romulans, so these guys will be able to escape, and we're fine with that. And the last entry on the list, in this video at least, the Orions. And they are obviously heavily involved in the slave trade across the galaxy. So taking prisoners is what they're after when they engage an enemy in a firefight. Like the Ferengi, they will be going after easier targets, but on occasion I think they would actually try and deal with more difficult targets in space, because they're not cowards like the Ferengi, and the men, they are naturally strong and they have all these cybernetic implants and they are ready for a fight. So boarding and taking the fight to the enemy, I think that's within the Orion mindset. But they want prisoners mainly, and they want loot and plunder, just like the Ferengi. So even if they might go after bigger targets, they still strive to disable the enemy vessel and then transport on board stun grenades and knockout gas, just like the Ferengi. Because they want to take prisoners and they want to find a lot of loot. And I think it's not unreasonable to think that the Orions have developed pheromone bombs, so to speak, that would make the enemy more likely to fall for the seductive nature of Orion females. So fill the enemy vessel with these Orion pheromones, and the Orion females come aboard, and everyone on that ship are more than willing to lay down their arms and surrender to the Orions. That's it. Very brief video with me rambling about random stuff in the Star Trek universe. Please share your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Am I completely off the mark dealing with talking about these aliens and their cultures and what their tactics should be? Let me know in the comment section. And all that said, I'll see you in the next one.